Monster Hunter Wilds has pretty much taken over the gaming space right now. It's the new breakout game of 2025. Akin to say Helldivers 2 from last year or even Palworld, Wilds has gotten so much attention from players it's downright staggering at times. This begs the question, how can Western development studios even keep up with the likes of Asian-based studios these days? It seems like every other day that Asian studios are releasing games that are doing far better than their Western counterparts. Marvel Rivals comes to mind, a game that has crossed well over 40 million players since its debut only 3 months ago. And it just keeps climbing with no signs of slowing down at all, but it's not the only one. Mecha Break has reeled in millions of players as well. Maybe because it has women with big assets, I mean that definitely can help for sure too, but I can just keep going. Black Myth Wukong dominated last year as well, Infinity Nikki crossed millions too, and so on and so on. But with Wilds, the numbers have exploded here to a point where the prophecy is becoming reality, which is that the East is 100% set to dominate the gaming industry going forward, and it's not even close. And beyond this topic, there's some really stupid stuff I want to cover too, like Wilds not having enough pronouns. No, I'm not kidding, but we'll get there. Firstly, this is from the BBC and it's titled, How a Monster Japanese Success Conquered the World. In this article, they speak to the director of the game Yuya Tokuda and producer Ryozo Sugimoto about how Capcom made such a monster-sized hit with the Monster Hunter series. The franchise, by the way, is now 21 years old, spanning multiple titles to the point where Monster Hunter games always have to release near the end of the work week in Japan. Because whenever a new one comes out, it actually slows down their economy. By the way, Dragon Quest is the same way, by the way. So how does these Asian studios manage to outplay their Western counterparts seemingly every single time when it comes to making video games these days? One reason that the BBC brings up, which I agree with, is a term in the games industry which is called brain drain. Brain drain is a term meant to describe how knowledge from game developers are lost amidst their specialized fields, whether it's game narrative designers, engineers, or animators either leaving the company due to mass layoffs, restructuring, or just becoming burnt out completely. And these specialized individuals oftentimes don't just leave these studios behind, leaving the massive holes in the studio's strength where these devs once stood. Oftentimes, these developers just leave the game industry completely for other fields that have nothing to do with video games at all. Hence the name, brain drain, because their knowledge is leaving with them and there's not enough people to replace the wealth of talent that was left behind. This is a big reason why, in my opinion, based on all of my reporting and witnessing the layoffs of the games industry over years, that I feel it's a big reason why the Western games industry is struggling so hard these days. To put it simply, the West doesn't value their devs for the most part. They are just seen as interchangeable most of the time. We hear all the time whenever a new game comes out that following its release, this senior dev or this other one has left for this studio or wherever else. The problem with the West is that they often bloat themselves up to make a game. Once it's done, they shed the weight like a rocket ship leaving the Earth's atmosphere, and then these devs find work somewhere else in the industry, or they just leave entirely. And I mean, who could blame them when the Western executives especially really don't care about these devs? On the flip side, with the East, places like Japan, Korea, and China have far more strict laws when it comes to protecting the rights of their laborers. Well, China is probably the least of these three, but you get the point. Because of this, these devs often stay with these companies for far longer, so whenever a dev does leave a Japanese studio for another one, it's a really big deal. A good example of this is actually within Capcom itself, when Hideki Itsuno, the director of Devil May Cry 5, left Capcom to join Square Enix recently. That's a big loss of talent there for Capcom because Itsuno's contributions to the action genre are unparalleled. It's a big win for Square Enix, sure, but it's an equally big loss for Capcom. Did you also know that another Capcom veteran also left for Square Enix as well in the last few years? Ryoto Suzuki, who worked on the Devil May Cry games as a lead in the combat mechanics for that game, was actually the lead for Final Fantasy XVI's combat, and I mean it shows. These are the kinds of devs that you want to keep at your studio, because they are absolutely the kinds of devs who can be attributed as that brain drain I spoke about earlier. But now that Suzuki and Itsuno are at Square Enix, both of whom worked on Devil May Cry for Capcom, I wonder what they're cooking over there. A new Final Fantasy perhaps? Or maybe it's something else entirely. I guess time will tell, but color me excited, fellas, about that exciting collaboration again happening in video games. Those guys haven't worked together since Devil May Cry 5, and I mean, that game was amazing, so whatever they're making next, I'm probably gonna buy it, let's be real. But this is the point. The reason why Monster Hunter Wilds has been able to regularly release new games on so many different platforms is because the East rightfully protects their devs far better than the West. And it's a big reason why whenever I see devs from the West get mad that why aren't people buying our games? Why are they always buying these Asian games? Well, there's a reason for that. One is the consistency of Asian-made games. The other is the quality and the usual complete rejection of Western values, which have plagued the games industry for years, and rightfully so. A lawyer who works with games said this on LinkedIn recently, who primarily works within the Western industry. It's a long post, so I won't read all of it, but the gist was that this lawyer was explaining how people need to buy the games they want more of, and in the case of, say, Western games, it's not going very well. Recently, a game came out called Lost Records. You probably didn't play it or even knew it existed. It's a young adult game with all the body positivity nonsense. It's from the Life is Strange people. Anyway, it bombed pretty much because nobody really played it. This lawyer complained on LinkedIn to others that the West is in dire straits game-wise because people just aren't supporting the games they make. But the thing is that games like Lost Records versus Monster Hunter, the difference here is that Don't Nod, the people who make the Life is Strange games, they tend to cater to that mythical modern audience, which is also why they've lost 95% of their value as a company already. Whereas Capcom caters obviously to Monster Hunter fans, which is a lot of people, obviously, based on the player counts for Wilds. As this lawyer stated in their post, they demand that if you want more games like Lost Records, which clearly people don't, that you should buy it at full price and play the game, and then coax other people into buying it as well. I'm going to be real with you, I would have a better time convincing my friends to invade a small country than convincing them to buy Lost Records at full price, if I'm being honest. It's just not going to happen. That game is everything that I and many others never want to spend our time playing in 2025 and beyond. But there was this one interesting part where this lawyer referenced another games industry person who spoke at GDC, or the Games Developer Conference, where they said this. And so it is with games. The most valuable consumers are those who spend the most time and money playing games, especially games within a genre. Robin Boyer at GDC wrote an excellent post last week on target audience, and I would add an additional question. What do people who spend over $250 a year of games and spend over 100 hours a year in our genre think? Why $250? Because unless you are from Software or Larian Studios, it's naive to think that someone who buys 3 games a year is going to make your game one of the 3. Notice how they use From Software as an example of a developer that people always buy games from. Ah yes, another development studio that is also, by the way, Japanese, that definitely protects their employees to ensure that the brain drain doesn't happen like it does in the West so often. Larian isn't the best example in my opinion. Besides Baldur's Gate 3, their other games have been modest successes at best. A better comparison would have honestly just have been using Capcom and Monster Hunter alongside From Software, as de facto concrete examples of games and studios that people want to support pretty much no matter what. But there's a reason for that, and it's important. It's that these Eastern devs are actually making things that people genuinely want to buy because it caters to them. Like, I can put Monster Hunter Wilds on screen here and then play the Lost Records trailer over top of it, and you guys tell me, which game, from a first glance, looks more like something you would actually want to play? Genuinely, let's be serious. Would you rather play a sensitive girl talking about her feelings where gameplay is minimal and not really the focus of the experience? Or would you rather play your monster hunting game that doesn't talk down to you or force agendas upon you because it understands that you just want to kill monsters, get your loot, and play with your friends? Let's be serious, I already know the answer here, but the point still stands. And also the point remains that the Asian invasion of video games is still happening, whether these people wanted to or not. The simple realization is that despite some hiccups, the Asian games like Wilds here are just giving people what they want. And when you compare it to the average Western release, the gameplay is never even really the focus but the messaging instead, which does nothing but tank their games like Suicide Squad did or even Dustborn. Although criticism where it's needed, like I said in my previous video, Wilds is not without controversy. The game is still not running well on PC, specifically. After having played it for a bit myself on PS5 Pro, I found the game to run perfectly fine the entire time I played it. My biggest gripe with Wilds is just that the game is not very good looking when you're actually playing the game itself. The cutscenes, which are also in-game as well, they just look vastly superior to when you're actually playing the game though. I do wish that Capcom could make the whole game look and feel like these cutscenes because they are genuinely nice to look at. And I'm really enjoying how expressive the actions and movements of the characters are when they move and do things in them. And also, I don't know if it's just me, but the game is just very easy, but it's whatever. Maybe I'm still too early on in the game myself. As this user on Twitter shared, they put all 3 platforms Wilds is on and compared the user reviews, and it's kinda staggering. On PS5, it's doing really well, because again, the game runs well there, and I have no doubt that the PS5 version was prioritized over any other version, as it is the current main platform that most third-party devs work to ensure their games run the best on for sales. Don't get mad at me, alright? Just is what it is. It's like the last gen as well, with the PS4 being the main platform for optimization too. Xbox, as you can also see, has a good score from users, however, moving to Steam, and it's still not looking great, unfortunately. Overall, if we were to score the games out of 100 based on user reviews, users have stated that the PS5 version is a 92 out of 100. Xbox is sitting at 90, and PC unfortunately is sitting at 53% of good reviews in comparison. Not a great look, but I figured you guys would want to know. Unfortunately now, Wilds is facing a new form of backlash from the people who have IQ levels that are in the toilet. Because Wilds does not respect your pronouns. Uh-oh indeed, fellas, this comes from the Steam forums. Choice of pronouns in-game, not bait. Oh yes, first of all, this isn't a clown bait post nor an LGBT hate post. I'm genuinely interested in what triggers this choice. Does anyone remember what dictates the pronouns you're assigned during cutscenes? As I made a mix of both body types and voices during beta, I can't remember which of these options actually gives you he, him, or she, her pronouns. Then someone else would respond, me too, the NPCs keep referring me as a woman, but I'm playing as a male character, using male presets to modify my looks. I just wish to change my pronoun back to male pronoun. This is destroying my character's identity. So, let me get this straight. The problem here is that these users are making characters that use both male and female body parts, I guess. I mean, I don't even know how that's possible in Wilds, because I chose a man and I was clearly not given any sliders for, say, my boob size or anything like that. But there were options to, say, add muscle definition to my character and yoke him up, which you know damn well I turned those options to maximum, as you gotta do it. But while in-game, my dude is referred to as a dude by the people around them, because I'm playing a guy, obviously. So the issue these users are having is that they chose female characters, but gave them masculine features by altering their faces and whatnot, probably using the male haircuts on their characters too. And I mean, you can also give your male character the female haircuts if you want to, I guess. I didn't, but it's there if you wanna. And now these users are mad that the characters in-game are referring to their hunter as female because they used a female body type over the male one as the base model for their character. So this is now misgendering because they identify as male but are actually women, and the game is now transphobic or something because Capcom doesn't give you the option to roleplay your weird Western indoctrinated fantasy in the Japanese monster slaying game that you're playing. You see what I mean? The delusion is on full display here. It's simply as to why your character is being referred to as a woman. Because you chose the female body over the male. That's it. That's all it is. I guess the best you could do is play a male character and just make him as wimpy as possible, but these people clearly still want their boobs and whatnot visible on their characters too. This is, yes I agree, exhausting, man, and we need to stop playing into these delusions. Your character is a woman, what's this user's name again? Curry, your hunter is a woman, it's not a man, because you chose the woman body over the male one. It's simple. And no, choosing your hunter's pronouns separate from your body type and what's downstairs is not in this game because thankfully Capcom is not doubling down on the stuff in their games. Look, if you want to play a feminized male character, I mean, go for it. That's what the character creator is for. But it's clear that the concept of non-binary or trans doesn't seem to exist in Wild's world at all. Everyone is just male or female, just like the monsters that you fight. You can get mad about that all you want, or try to boycott the game, I guess. It's not going to change anything at this point. It just kind of sounds like to me that these people need therapy if this is upsetting them. I'm just playing a dude who looks like a dude. My only negative with my character so far is that his skin was lighter when I made him, but he looks much darker in the game. But like, whatever, I guess. My hunter guy got a tan running around in the sun. It's fine. I'm honestly too lazy to remake my dude for simply that, but kudos on Capcom not doubling down on these things unlike Veilguard did, for example. Because if Wilds had trans surgery scars, that would have been something. But Capcom likes making money, so they didn't do that. But this was unfortunately not the only stupid thing coming out of these people's mouths. Another user, don't harass him by the way, they're getting dogpiled enough, they said this on Twitter. So glad to see many posts from right-wing grifters like Grumps promoting Monster Hunter Wilds, a game that prominently features a character voiced by non-binary voice actor Casey Mangillo. Look, nobody cares if a character is non-binary. So far from what I've played, the character in question, whose name is Eric, and specializes in monsters and their habitats, hasn't made a single mention of their gender or anything like that in-game. The entire time when I met this Eric in-game, he's played like an effeminate man who's really gentle. But he's not referred to as a woman at any point, so far anyway. Maybe that changes at some point. If so, let me know. But for where I am in the game so far, that hasn't happened yet, and it's not like women haven't played male characters in the past. Pretty much any game you play, if there's like kids in it for example, those kids are probably played by a fully grown woman, let's be real. By the way, everyone in this game, they just pretty much talk about monsters 24/7, and I mean it makes sense, it says Monster Hunter on the box. And everybody's just pretty much, obsessed with where we can find the monsters, how we can hunt them, and how we can kill them. There doesn't really seem to be anyone stopping the game to say like Black Lives Matter or wherever else. Grumps, however, did respond to this person, and again, they're tone deaf as hell for their comment. I mean, 67 likes for getting dogpiled this badly, they're just being stupid for the love of the game, but here's what Grumps said, and I quote, "This is the problem. You've been told over and over that gamers are full of hate for people, and that's why they hate DEI in games. You've been lied to so many times, you literally assume this to be the truth. You don't get it at all. It's never been that point. But we've been tarred and feathered with these lies because you want to cancel us, get us fired, or push us out of the community. Evil, reprehensible tactics like you are using right now. Gamers don't care. We don't care who are you, where you come from, so long as you stop forcing it on us and trying to make everything and everyone always be about you. We've always been welcoming because we were the outcast geeks and we understand. You exploited that to get into our groups, and then start demanding things change just to cater to you and for us to leave. We do care if you are forcing DEI into games to the detriment of the game or the beratement of players. DEI often masks as virtue, but is just used as a narrative tool in games to belittle or hate on non-POC like whites and Asians or straight men. We are endlessly lectured by how toxic we are just for existing and how everyone else is so much more superior. The games infected devolved, most often with stories being filled with cringe dialogue I need to do a barb like in Veilguard, or characters that oddly feel compelled to announce their sexuality for no reason other than to promote some kind of forced representation. Worse yet are the characters who are solely defined by their gonads and when writers create entire story arcs about it, while yelling and screeching to the rest of us about how oppressed you are, that it's our fault, and that we must do something for you. Game design, code, and production also suffers, as DEI hires based on skin and gender form soft quotas are stuffed into roles which they are not ready for. Because merit has been completely abandoned, bugs proliferate, game design goes bland or broken, and teams stumble along in execution, taking too much time and budget. Worse yet, skill devs are passed over for promotion because they are white men or hounded by their coworkers for their conservative opinions and held back because of them. They leave the industry, leaving the non-merit hires behind trying to figure out things on their own without the skills, talent, or institutional knowledge. So no, a non-binary voice actor is not some kind of gotcha in Monster Hunter Wilds. Nobody cares so long as DEI didn't make the game worse. Pander and propagandize the story, drain characters of their depth, or lecture and berate us. Nobody cares, you are losing, and these tactics of yours just aren't effective anymore, good day sir, end quote. What Grum said is right. Nobody cares if this character is a non-binary voice actor. The archetype of soft-spoken effeminate male character, that is something we've seen so many times in animes or games already. Eric to me is just a dime a dozen of that same character archetype, so I didn't so much as even react when he first spoke. I just kind of went, oh okay, he's that kinda nice guy androgynous dude. You also don't see people complaining about Olivia either, who's a strong female ace hunter who accompanies your team while treading through the wildlands either. Or Gemma, your blacksmith, being a woman with washboard abs, or even Alma, your guide. All of these characters, by the way, are women, and yet, where's the outrage? Oh, that's right, it's nowhere to be seen. Why is that? Is it because this game is pushing some forced female agenda, or maybe it's just that these people are just characters? And their genders are never so far anyway, to my knowledge, based on what I've played, been made a point of their story or why they're good at what they do. The best kind of diversity is the kind that just simply exists. For example, one of my favorite superheroes is Spawn. He's a black guy. I am clearly not a black guy. Despite that, I think Spawn is awesome as hell, and he is long overdue for his own game. It's been too long, but I love Spawn, not because he's black, but because his other qualities, like how he's a self-sacrificing protector despite how life has treated him. Spawn being a black guy, or any of these characters being women in Wilds, means nothing to their characters because they are treated like real people. They just exist. It isn't stuff that gets attention brought to it. In a Western game dev's eyes, if they were given Wilds with these same characters, Eric would have his entire story be about him somehow being non-binary and how his sexuality or identity or whatever is somehow troubling him. And Olivia would be an outspoken lesbian who constantly needs to remind everyone that she can do just as good, if not better, than her male hunter counterparts, same with Gemma too, but all of this is not present. Why? Because the game is made by Japanese people who rightfully so think that the Western way of doing things is genuinely art to the retarded in most cases. Instead, these characters just are. They don't need to validate themselves or talk down to the player to accept things. They're just people who showed up to face these threats, and they all rightfully just kind of admit that, hey, we need to fix this white wraith problem that's plaguing these lands. And maybe we should just leave our beliefs and personal nonsense to the side while we work because we're adults, no? I mean, even the core character of the game is this small brown child. You don't see anyone complaining because, again, the fact that the kid is brown or whatever is not a focal point. They're instead presented as a literal kid who just wants to get home to their family that we saw at the beginning of the game. The Keepers are their names, by the way. You see what I mean? Wilds proves that you can indeed have diversity in your AAA video game and be successful. But the trick is not to make a big deal of it or try to force the message or downplay others because of it. The brown kid exists. Eric exists. These women are good at their jobs and they just exist. They don't talk down to others or say, I am better than this man over here at his job because I am a vajayjay. They don't do that. And Western writers could never. Their gender studies degrees, they speak to them like the Green Goblin mask the moment they're presented with an opportunity to spew their beliefs. And this is why the West keeps losing, and why the East keeps winning. Not only is the East just outplaying the West in terms of sales and accolades, they're even doing their mission better than they could ever do, which is implementing diversity into their video games and doing it in such a way where people don't hate them for it. This is why these Western games suck so much ass, dude. They could never help themselves if they were in a similar position. And despite Wilds having all of these people present being women or diverse, what takes precedence over all of this? Oh, that's right. As always, it's the gameplay and the story. These are far more important than any one of these people's plights. If a Western writer was in charge of Wilds, that little brown kid would 100% have scenes where some random white-skinned, blonde-haired, Aryan-looking young boy would be bullying him for his skin color. And you'd probably have a mission where you have to talk down the white boys for being racist, and then the little brown kid would stare into the camera for your sympathy. Thank God that they didn't do any of that here, by the way. Plus, the natives of Monster Hunter Wilds world are all pretty much brown-skinned people anyways. By God, they did it again. Those crazy Asian developers implemented an entire ethnic group into their game and it didn't come off as pandering. I mean, how did they do it? But you see, the West could also be doing this as well had they not ostracized and pushed out every good dev from their studios and caused that very same brain drain to happen to them every other week if they just focused on making good games first. But instead, like Grum said, these Western studios look over the experienced devs who are actually deserving of higher positions, whether they're white, Asian, or anything else, for other people due to things like race to push quotas. So when you just fill your whole company's senior level positions with people who didn't earn it, you can't complain that your games end up sucking. Why they're not selling or they're not reviewing well, when the very developers who could have saved you are instead leaving to make either their own studios or end up working for China in most cases. The West has caused their own downfall. They can be salty and butthurt all they want, but it is what it is. Wilds is yet another massive blow to the armor of Western gaming ideology, and I wonder genuinely how many more hits the West can take before the brain drain is utterly complete. And then at that point, all that's left to fill these studios are nothing but activists that are raised on gender study programs who don't know how to make great games, but only how to push propaganda instead. And when the entire Western industry is pretty much sinking into a collapse, the East will just keep rising. Wilds is a breakout hit, and the West should be able to compete with it, but ultimately, as long as merit and talent are overlooked in the sake of identity, that brain drain and the draining of goodwill and profits will continue to fall, until the entire Western development sphere is composed of nothing but lost records level failures while the East keeps raking in the millions with profits and player engagement. Look deep into yourselves, Western devs, because time is running out. You either need to pivot now or China will simply own you. And when they do, your gender study degrees, they will be about as useful as a pocket full of sand in a sea of desert. Completely pointless and utterly replaceable by the infinite amounts of nothingness in every single direction that you look in. It's your move, let's hope you idiots don't keep screwing it up. But thank you for watching, let me know what you think, subscribe, and I'll see you soon.